Sajik where life is
7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in First Watch. No ease in bank fees. And in the Second Watch, marriage and divorce and homicide in Jamaica. Is there a relationship? For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on rising bank fees? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first, here's I quote.
All right, today's I quote says, when you are a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really it.
A very interesting.
I couldn't explain it. I couldn't tell you where it come from. I just started saying, but it doesn't work with it.
Good morning, Dukan.
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine.
All right.
The main watch will be back after this break.
It had the makings of a true modern-day soap opera, only in real life. A story with conflicts, crises, and climaxes. The biblical narrative, starring David and Bathsheba, entails adultery and bloodshed, curses and prophetic rebuke with tragic consequences, and the breaking and making of a throne. The lesson being, we cannot control the effects of our sin, and that all sin affects others. What was this story, and how does it apply to us today? The story of David and Bathsheba. We'll talk about it on The Rock with host Bishop Hero Steve Blair and guests Diane Hansen and Ronald Scott. That's The Rock, Tuesday, September 24 at 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Have to be a man, got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, Christianity is not a part-time occupation. Those who have accepted the call to salvation is expected to forsake all that was life for them before that call and devote themselves to obeying and pleasing God. Is it possible for young men to walk and live a holy life in these times? Is embracing purity and godly principles of men a thing of the past? You are invited to join the conversation with John Mark Wigan, youth leader and music minister, on Wednesday, September 25 at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Love 101. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Foxridge Company Limited. The Mailbox, Monday.
On the next Campus Connection, we will be focusing on the school nutrition policy. We will look at the connection between nutrition and learning. Can students learn effectively while hungry? Can families be properly nourished on a low budget and high food prices? Is it practical to get all sugary drinks out of schools? Join us with guest Miss Rosanna Pike, nutrition practitioner and advocacy officer, Mr. Alex Johnson, clinical dietitian intern and youth health advocate, and honor roll guest Martin Williams from the St. Catherine High School on Tuesday, September 24 at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Love 101. Campus Connection is brought to you by Heart NSTA Trust. Skill is power. Campus Connection, Tuesday, September 24 at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station. Love 101.
Every Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight on Love 101. You're invited to travel in time with music at its best. It's the Gospel Music Machine with the Gospel Music Master, Nigel Wilkinson. From your favorite choir music to Christian contemporary, a touch of reggae and the Caribbean feel.
Gospel Music Machine with Nigel Wilkinson.
Nigel are playing the tune. Yep, the Gospel Music Master is still playing the tunes down alone. And he's definitely your music master. Saturdays, 7 p.m. to midnight. You won't regret the link. It's on the Family Station. Love 101.
That is all I need.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm Stokeley Marshall. For years, our financial institutions have been challenged on the vexed issue of high bank fees. But even while a ruling on an over a year-long fought case, re-bank fees, has been set for October 1, all sorts of banking fees have been going up. Up as recently as September 22nd, 2024. This week at FGB and VMBS, our guest so far for this segment is Member of Parliament, Opposition Member of Parliament, Fitz Jackson. We hope to be joined shortly by financial analyst and commentator Dennis Strong. Good morning, Member of Parliament, Fitz Jackson. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
I'm not the doc, but
oh, this is
Stokeley. This is Brother Stokeley, yes, sir. Mr. Jackson, good morning again. Remind us, what is the objection to the rising fees, or, well, fees in general?
Well, my position is crystal clear. One, I make it abundantly clear at the outset. It is not about fees in general, but is particular fees which relates to transaction against account holders, which is to say, people are being penalized for using their funds in the banks, because there are other financial transactions for which fees do apply, and a service is so provided when you purchase a manager's check, or when you do some international wire and things like those. Those are not things that are germane to your accessing and using your money. But when you have to pay a fee to make a withdrawal from your account, from your funds, when you have to pay a fee to make a deposit, when you have to make a fee to be told how much is in your account, given that passbook is now a thing of the past, various other transactions against your account, you should not be penalized. So that's just inherently unfair and unjust. And as we have seen, in some instances, they are even illegal. Two such fees I can refer to: the dormancy fee, which is an outstanding matter that I intend to take before the court. But when I drew it to their attention, in fairness to them, they recognize their vulnerability legally, and they suspended those charges since 2018. So I welcome that. But note I said suspend, not terminate. That means they reserve the right to reimpose it notwithstanding. The other one, which is deemed illegal against existing legislation, is the cash and check encashment fee, which is the basis of the lawsuit before the Supreme Court with the Bank of Nova Scotia, and for which you made mention a moment ago. Our lawyers made an application for a summary judgment. And it's important to note that In the summary judgment, the lawyers are basically saying, based on the legal submissions made at the case management level, both in terms of facts and in terms of the law, there is sufficient basis on which the court can make a ruling without going through a trial. So it is to preempt the need for a trial, much the same way that you have a no case submission in criminal court matters. For civil matters, it's a no case submission. So the judge is to rule on Tuesday, in fact, a week from today, as to whether or not the matter can be decided at this stage and then would make a decision, or whether or not it will need to go to trial. So in a worst case situation for me and for the public who suffer the same fate, in a worst case situation, the matter would have to go to trial. In the other respect, we'll get the judgment right away. So that is what will come on Tuesday.
Thank you so much, Member of Parliament Fitz-Jackson. We now have Dennis Chung, financial analyst and commentator, who is joining us. Good morning, Mr. Chung.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir, and I hope you're doing well this morning.
I'm good.
Now, you might have heard Mr. Jackson respond to the question in terms of what is the objection to the rising fees or fees in general. Speaking, of course, of banking fees, do you have any comments, sir?
Well, I think, remember that we've had an inflationary environment, and the truth is that when you look at over the past year or so, the banks really have been coming under a lot of pressure because of high interest rates. So naturally, if we assume that we still live in an economy that is market driven, then you're going to have those sorts of adjustments occurring, because bank fees and interest rates are really just pricing issues, right? And if you have an inflationary economy, if you have pressures coming on a business, they're going to adjust. I mean, what we need to do, one of the things I must give its commendation, is bringing the spotlight on the need for more competitiveness in the financial sector. And you'd have also seen where the Minister of Finance announced that we're coming with a single KYC platform. So therefore, what we need to do really is encourage greater competition. This thing where we think that we can regulate bank fees or set bank fees, that's not going to change anything, right? So I don't see it unusual in terms of the adjustment in fees. I think that is something that was coming given the inflationary environment, as I said, and we really need to look at the whole thing of the competitiveness in the industry. And one of the things we don't want to happen, which is why it's important also, is we don't want our financial system to be in problem, right? So we have to look at the market fix to it rather than a regulator fix to it.
Interesting comment.
If I may.
Before you comment, Mr. Jackson, you would have heard Mr. Chung say that's not gonna fix anything. Any reaction to what Mr. Chung just said in that regard, this business of regulating bank fees, Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, Dennis, my good friend, morning.
Very fit.
Two things I want to comment on that Dennis said. I'll start with the last one. Well, let me say this in an overarching way. This thing about competitiveness, I have long said the banks represent one of the intellectually laziest group in Jamaica. They find a weak fence to knock over. When you have international situation arise and they have to moderate their business operation, they do it because they can't change.
Mr. Jackson, I know that you have just started to respond, but we are already upon a break. Never enough time on the morning watch. Listeners, please stay with us. Very, very interesting discussion this morning on bank fees. We'll be right back on the morning watch.
Get busy with a biz car, biz grow, biz moves. With a giant pump, biz loan you can't lose. When you want grow more on your business too.
JN Bank Small Business Loan.
Some loan for you.
Helping you succeed is our business. Tell us your business and let's help you start it, grow it, or boost it. Borrow as low as $10,000 and up to 100 million Jamaican dollars. Enjoy flexible payment terms and affordable rates. Apply now. WhatsApp 876-295-1298. JN Bank. We'll help you find a way.
Baby, we know how important it is to keep you dry and comfortable. At Huggies, we've made it our mission to have the perfect diaper to give you a soft and gentle experience. And even better, a one-up 100% leak-proof protection, even from blowouts. Whether it's playtime, nap time, or bedtime, Huggies keeps you happy. So you can focus on making memories, not messes. Huggies, we got you, baby.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beats. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beats today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Once upon a time, there's a girl named Kay. She loved to dance and play. One day at school, she got very ill, and Mom was left with an unbearable bill. It would be easier if Mom was prepared. With School Companion, 80% of the bill is cleared. Medical care for children is a must. For as low as $2,540 per month, make unbearable medical bills go away. Sign up for Sagicor School Companion today. Conditions apply.
On the next Campus Connection,
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch. The topic is no ease in bank fees. Our guests are Opposition Member of Parliament, Mr. Fitz Jackson, as well as financial analyst and commentator, Mr. Dennis Chung. Mr. Jackson, just before the break, you were making a comment in response to certain things that Mr. Chung had said earlier on in the first half of this first watch. Please continue, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah. Now, just quickly to make the point that I don't buy the argument by Dennis about the indispensability of the fees. Remember, a bank is licensed to take people's money and invest it in making monies for themselves. That's a business model. They don't use their own money. They're authorized to use deposits, people's money. And people don't have any claim to how much they make from it. They determine what interest rate they pay them on deposits, etc., etc. So they need the deposits to do it. Now, what the banks have done, if you look at the ratio at interest income and fees to bank, the fees are competing with the interest income. Because what they have done, deliberately, they have developed a business model to say we will take zero or minimal risk in lending money. And we will use the captive funds or accounts that we have to milk the people. And they milk the people them through these fees that they charge. Because they have to come to the bank. Bank is like a utility company. So they have deliberately decided as a business model that they are going to charge fee to deal with inflation and to deal with any other costs. Every other business, if you're in manufacturing, if you're in the service industry, you have to come up with a business model that you can keep your customers, right? And earn money from that, rather than put charges on them that they're going to go away. But because the customers are captive and you have a government that is in bed with the banks are allowed to do what they want to do. So it's about the business model. In other jurisdictions, it doesn't occur. Many of the same things that we're seeking to change in Jamaica are being done in other jurisdictions because they are not permitted to do it there. But in Jamaica, this government permit them to do it. And we can go over a slew of them I could mention of.
Would you
Dennis
like to
mentioned
mention a few,
about
Mr. Jackson?
competitiveness. Dennis mentioned about competitiveness. For over 2 years, the governor of the Bank of Jamaica and the government resisting the proposal that I made for a standard KYC to allow for competitiveness in the banking sector. And they resisted it. The Bank of Jamaica, the governor of the Bank of Jamaica told me at a committee meeting that the banks have to agree to that themselves. And they are not agreeing. And it prevailed. So for over 2 years, 3 years, all these years, they have been allowed to do it because the government and the Bank of Jamaica just do what the banks want to do. It is out of public pressure. Why the same Bank of Jamaica now say, okay, we are going to institute, which is a regulatory step they are taking, to put in place a standard KYC to allow for greater movement so that a customer who is displeased with Bank A can easily go to Bank B or Bank C, right? They resisted it. And my good friend Dennis used to say that, never consider it a priority. I refuse to accept, gentlemen, that these banks, out of their laziness, must be allowed to impose costs. Because the account holders have to deal with costs in their lives too, How can you explain banks are making billions of dollars every year, none of them shutting down because they are near collapse in an economy that is not growing? So their profit is not being earned from production, from productivity in the economy. Their profits are being made from skimming off margins of people's deposits. That's how they become profitable. They are no example of entrepreneurship and genius. They are the epitome of intellectual laziness. What they should be doing is to creating all kinds of instruments to attract people to come and borrow money from them so that they can earn money. They don't do that because they don't want to take any risk. But you have to come to them for transaction, and so they skim off it in fees. It's a modern way, sanitized way of skimming and scamming in my mind, and the government permitted. And that's, I'm upset with the banks for what they do, but I'm worse upset with the government because the government refused to protect the public.
Mr. Jackson, only because of time and because to some extent you're sort of repeating a couple of things you said before, but I think we get the point, sir. You're indicating the many challenges with some of these fees. Thank you so much for that comment. Mr. Chung, you've heard what Mr. Jackson has said. He said quite a number of things.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have any comments in relation to any of them without...
Yeah, I think it was basically saying one thing, which is the environment that the banks operate in. And that's the point I'm making. I mean, I agree that the banks and the system has been lazy. They're a lot more active than they were. I remember in the 1990s, they were the laziest they were ever. When all banks had to do was sit back and make money off of high interest rates. They've evolved since then, and we've seen some amount of competition. For example, when the stamp duties were removed from mortgages, that people were moving around between banks and interest rates actually came down. But I agree with it. I remember in the 1990s when banks were just, all they had to do was sit on money and make money off of government paper. Since then, I think their business model has improved, but not sufficiently because of the KYC environment I've been talking about for a long time. And this is a problem. The KYC issue has been occurring for many decades. I've been talking about it and has been a problem. And we've really not addressed it as a country. And when you listen to what this is saying, I agree with him. The problem is the environment. When you look at the manufacturing environment, they have a competitive environment that they're in. They're not regulated, right? What we need to do, and as I said, I came back to what the finance minister announced, central KYC, which have been in place a long time ago, I agree. That is what will cause people to move from one financial institution to the next, and it will create competitiveness. It will create proactivity within the banks, just like what happened with the mortgage, right? So I'm saying I don't want to put another regulatory environment on it, which is they're regulating bank fees. That's another part of regulation. That's gonna do the same thing that what Fitz has been talking about the environment, right? And the lack of a central KYC database. We need to move away from that. What we need to do is use our efforts to ensure there needs to be a code of conduct for banks, and I agree with that. But it's based on their behavior and their practices. Right? Just like other businesses have ethical code of conduct that they operate under, and professions, and the corporate governance code is a primary one. But we need to move to a situation where there is a competitive environment. I remember the whole thing of, I can't remember the name of it, but government used to set commodity prices. That was ridiculous, right? The market needs to set it. So introduce greater competition, not just from the point of view of a central database, but look at other forms of being able to finance situations. So 20 years ago, for example, we did not have the microfinance industry. That came out of it, right? That's another layer of competition. So while we're not where we are, I think that we have improved significantly in the competitive environment, certainly since the 1990s, or around then, because I think 1990s is when it really started to develop the industry. But we need to go further. We need that central KYC. We also have a thing called Jamdex that was introduced. I don't think that we're taking enough advantage of that, because what you can do if you have a Jamdex wallet is you can actually do transactions outside of the banking system, and it does not hit the bank in terms of fees until you deposit the money there. So those are things that are in place, and we need to promote them. We need to put more and more into place for them to be used, right? A central database, a very active Jamdex system, right? And a more competitive environment in terms of more alternatives for financing for people.
For the benefit of the listeners, we have been making a lot of reference to KYC, which is an acronym for Know Your Customer. So just for the benefit of the listeners, gentlemen, in terms of going forward, Mr. Jackson, would you like to go?
Yes, my few comments. You know what I find a little bit disingenuous. Many would say, "Oh, we're against regulation of the banking fees." We're not talking about regulating fees across the board. We're specifically talking about fees against charge to customers for transaction against their accounts. So we must be careful, Dennis. I'm not, and I said it at the outset, and I'm repeating it, because it gives the impression that we're going to cut out fees for this and want to cut out or regulate fees for this. No, nothing like that. Secondly, we're not talking about wanting to be unregulated. Life is funny. The transportation system is a free market, right? But the government regulates the fares that the taxi operators can charge.
The transportation system is not a free market.
No, we have private operators licensed.
Yeah, but the government controls the fare.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
That's my point. Government,
and that's what we don't want to do with the bank fees.
No, but nobody don't have any problem with it with the taxes, because I'm always involved. But when the banks,
we have a problem with the transportation system. That's why it's in chaos.
I am not against
the right price.
No, I am not against it. I'm not against what is being done with the transport sector. I'm only saying we against regulation when it comes to the banks, but we can embrace it when it deals with some small people. So I'm not campaigning.
I don't embrace it. None at all.
Being said.
Gentlemen, we are almost completely and totally out of time. Any final comments that both of you gentlemen would like to make, starting with Mr. Chung, then followed by Mr. Jackson. Mr. Chung?
My point is that I'm just against regulation. I mean, regulations must be there to protect people, but at some point, just like the translation system, Fitz bring up the translation system, it is because of our failure to ensure that it is based on competitiveness. Why it's in the chaos that it has been in for many years. Right. So while I agree that we must protect people and the code of conduct that the Bank of Jamaica is supposed to address those things, but it mustn't go beyond that.
We might have to leave it there, Mr. Jackson. A few
Yeah, the protection is selective, though, Dennis. I want the banking public to be protected too, just as how the traveling public is protected.
We might have to leave it there for today.
Yeah, what the last thing I said is that I'm going to protect Fitz by ensuring that when he buys for the lunch, it doesn't go past a price.
Well, whatever fees
Like
attached to that, I'm going to
gentlemen. Mr. Jackson and Mr. Chung, I want to thank both of you for your time and for your thoughts this morning. Very interesting discussion in terms of bank fees. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
The time by Gem Bank is
7:31.
Attention seniors! Great news! Your September 2024 social pension payment is now available for collection. Simply check your text messages to confirm your payment details. For more information, call 876-922-8007 or visit the ministry's website, mlss.gov.jm. The Social Pension Program, caring for our elders. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, providing opportunity, stability, and social protection.
Of the follow Grace Sardine, better flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarket, everybody sell it. You all of them nice. Pass the park, make us shell it.
Pick up Grace Sardines with peppers, vegetable oil, water, and olive oil with peppers.
Cook it up, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Shake it out, spice it up, make it simmer. Grace Sardine, yeah, the better flavor. Quick and easy as you print it. Ready?
Grace Sardines, follow the better flavor.
Get ready for a vintage glam affair at the 8th edition of the Sterling Gospel Music Awards, Saturday, October 5 at the fully air-conditioned Emmanuel Apostolic Church, 12th Slab Road in Kingston. Red carpet, 5 p.m., showtime, 7 p.m. sharp. Get your tickets at Fontana, Waterloo, Portmore, or Mandeville, or online at spotopen.com. $5,000 pre-sold, $6,000 at the gate. Children 12 and under, $1,800. Lap infants are free. It's the 8th Sterling Gospel Music Awards, Saturday, October 5, Emmanuel Apostolic Church in Kingston. Recognizing talent, rewarding excellence.
Tell your family and friend them abroad. Equip gifts and credit back at yard. Tap your book with a quick right here and there.
Send all the credits with me. Give me something.
An easy way to send gift card for the bill.
Give me something.
In an instant, bigger gift.
Give me something.
Skip the lock and be aligned with me.
Give me something.
Half the love and you.
Skip the lunch and be aligned on high fees with internet, family and friends overseas. The easy way to send a credit or a gift card for just about everything. Amazing. Use the code Bing Me for 30% off. Don't know that.
So what if you do?
Send it with me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Jamaica Observer, nothing unusual about PM's many bank accounts, says financial analyst. That financial analyst being Dennis Chung, who was also a guest in the First Watch today. We turn to the Gleaner. We have here in the Gleaner, SSL payout. Call for fair treatment amid controversial offers. In part release of funds by fraud hit entity. And this story by Kimon Francis. Scandal scarred Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, has indicated that it is advanced in its plans to pay its clients. We now turn to Loop Jamaica News. Flash flood watch now in effect for all parishes. This story from 19 hours ago, reported in Loop Jamaica News. The flash flood watch, which was issued for low-lying and flood-prone areas of southern and northwestern parishes, has been extended to the remaining parishes locally. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, what are your thoughts on rising bank fees? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
It had the makings of a true modern-day soap opera, only in real life. A story with conflicts, crises, and climaxes. The biblical narrative, starring David and Bathsheba, entails adultery and bloodshed, curses and prophetic rebuke with tragic consequences, and the breaking and making of a throne. The lesson being, we cannot control the effects of our sin, and that all sin affects others. What was the story, and how does it apply to us today? The story of David and Bathsheba. We'll talk about it on The Rock with host Bishop Hero Steve Blair and guests Diane Hanson and Ronald Scott. That's The Rock, Tuesday, September 24 at 10 a.m. on the Family Station, Love 101.
Happy be a man, got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, Christianity is not a part-time occupation. Those who have accepted the call to salvation is expected to forsake all that was life for them before that call and devote themselves to obeying and pleasing God. Is it possible for young men to walk and live a holy life in these times? Is embracing purity and God the principles of men a thing of the past? You are invited to join the conversation with John Mark Wigan, youth leader and music minister, on Wednesday, September 25 at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station, Love 101. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Foxridge Company Limited. The Mailbox, Monday.
On the next Campus Connection, we will be focusing on the school nutrition policy. We will look at the connection between nutrition and learning. Can students learn effectively while hungry? Can families be properly nourished on a low budget and high food prices? Is it practical to get all sugary drinks out of schools? Join us with guest Miss Rosanna Pike, nutrition practitioner and advocacy officer, Mr. Alex Johnson, clinical dietitian intern and youth health advocate, and honor roll guest Martin Williams from the St. Catherine High School on Tuesday, September 24 at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station, Love 101. Campus Connection is brought to you by Heart NSTA Trust. Skill is power. Campus Connection, Tuesday, September 24 at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Jakal for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What are your thoughts on rising bank fees, Jakal?
All right, so we have some responses. We have one on YouTube. Sonia Jones says, we have to pay too much bank fees. If you go to the bank, you have to pay to draw, pay to bank, pay the manager to check, check whatever. So, yeah, that is what she says there. Monica says, I remember a time when our banks did not impose the level of fees we have now upon their depositors. As the fees increase, the service and security to their customers and their accounts decreases. Cherry in Spanish Town says, good morning. Bank fees will soon be higher than the interest rate, and they will tell you it's because of inflation. What we need is more regulations regarding the banking systems in Jamaica.
Very interesting, Jakal. Thank you so much for the comments that you read. Very interesting, sir. Well, we go right into the second watch. Of course, welcome back to the Morning Watch for those who are just joining or rejoining. It's long been noted that the appeal of getting married, even in the Jamaican society, has been waning. At the same time, the rate of divorce increases. But would it ever dawn on anyone that there is a connection between marriage, divorce, and homicides going up? Is there a case to be made for such a connection? We have this morning to discuss this Dr. Paul Bourne. He's a lecturer and research consultant, and Angelica Dalrymple, associate applied psychologist, CEO, Ask Consultancy and Coaching Services, and author. Angelica Dalrymple, Dr. Paul Bourne, good morning.
Good morning.
So, Dr.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you both. Dr. Bourne, starting with you, sir.
All
What
right.
has
I've always
this-
been concerned about this. It's relating to homicide, and it drove me into try to find out what are some of the things that are actually causing this homicide pandemic in Jamaica.
When you say homicide in what way? Because we hear a lot about
intentional murders.
Yes, man. But for 1 second, context. You're talking about homicide coming out of domestic violence, because there are lots of homicides.
No, homicides generally. Because if you look at
homicides
the number,
generally.
right, generally. I was trying to understand why we're having so many in Jamaica. We are ranked in the top 10, top 5 sometimes in the world in terms of homicide.
Okay.
What could be causing this?
And this is based on research that you started to do some research in the area?
Yes, man. So we use data from 1950 to 2013.
Okay.
Try to sort of look what is actually going on, to sort of see patterns, etc., etc., etc.
All right. So what have your findings borne out? No play on your surname, sir. Born.
So some interesting results.
What have they borne out?
Well, I like that. Some interesting results. So what we did was try to sort of model what was going on. Because I'm a math person, right? So we tried to model using the homicide, divorce, marriages, sort of what is going on. And we found out that if we were to use divorce to try to predict homicide, it can be done. It's almost a relationship of 77% that indicates to you that there is a high probability that divorce is actually creating the homicide scenario in Jamaica.
Explain that. Unpack that for us. Divorce creating the homicide scenario in Jamaica.
So what we did was to model, as we said before, using data from 1950 for homicides and from 1950 to 2013 in terms of divorce, and try to create a model sort of see if there is any relationship between the two phenomena.
Dr. Bourne, only because of time, Dr. Bourne, let's break it down for us. Is it that the persons who are about to get divorced or who are contemplating divorce are likely to want to murder each other?
So that's what we found out in terms of the statistics, because we need to make a distinction between statistics and explanation. So the statistics say to us that there is a strong relationship between the two phenomena. So what we're saying now is, looking at the data, that is one thing, but we also try to explain what was actually going on. When we actually look at what was going on in terms of other things, we realize that divorce actually creating an issue as a result of the social separation between individuals, knowing full well that there's a relationship between money and marriage. And that was also done in the data. We also try to model money and marriage, money and divorce, and realize that money was a critical part of divorce. So when we did that model, that is now indicating to us that separation is actually creating a problem in Jamaica.
And what is the connection between separation and homicide, if any?
That's what we're saying. That's what I gave you a while ago. So we're saying that separation was looked at in terms of divorce, legal divorce. And we are saying that that explains 77% of why we are seeing the number of homicides in Jamaica.
That's a high percentage.
Very, very high.
But a lot of the homicides we are learning about is really gunmen just going and shooting up some people at a wake or at an event.
What I was saying is not as simple as that. A number of these things
Hold that thought 1 second. I just want to bring in Angelica Dalrymple before we head to the break. Angelica Dalrymple?
Yes, good morning. I'm here.
In fact, now that you're on, I gather that we are now already upon a break. So we're going to ask you to hold that thought 1 second because Dr. Bourne is saying some things which sound quite interesting, but at the same time, well, maybe we've just not heard this from this angle before. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Praise sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody
Praise
selling.
sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is 7:45.
A time with double up your savings. These are the books that you've been waiting. Put in the water, dreams you've been chasing. Double up your savings. Double up.
Save so you can win in the Jan Bank Double Up Your Savings promotion. You could be one of 5 lucky quarterly winners to walk away with double the money you put in your savings account. Conditions apply.
Double up your savings.
Check our website and social media for details. Jan Bank will help you find a way. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
When I grow up, I'm going to be a famous gamer with viral videos all over the internet. I'm going to be rich. Good thing I'll already know how to take care of my money since Mommy got me this Sure Start account.
Open a CIBC Caribbean Sure Start account for your kids and give them a head start on financial smarts with a $1,200 sign-up bonus from us. We believe in their dreams as much as you do, so let's get them going together. Start young, start strong with Sure Start from CIBC.
It hurts if you don't check bird. The excellent customer service, our staff is knowledgeable and trustworthy. And we have a wide variety to supply society, and the price is right, yes, it's worth it. The solution to your auto parts, things to one-stop shop. And we deliver to, so if you can't come in, just ring with my WhatsApp or call and make your order. And remember, there's no other, so it hurts if you don't check bird. So there's no need to say. It hurts if you don't check bird.
I am so happy for back to school. But wow, getting back to a quiet house comes at a price, right? Flo knows how to easy work for back to school. With a $15,000 gift card to help take care of your back to school expenses and a free school bag. The books aren't going to carry themselves, right? Make back to school easier and sign up for Yard and Road. Get internet at home and mobile on the go for only $5,300 plus GCT. Flo Yard and Road makes every day better. Visit a Flo store today. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and we are speaking with Dr. Paul Bourne, lecturer and research consultant, as well as Angelica Dalrymple, associate applied psychologist, CEO, ASK Ask Consultancy and Coaching Services, and author. The topic: Marriage and Divorce and Homicide in Jamaica. Is there a relationship? Angelica Dalrymple, just before the break, you were about to comment. Would you like to comment perhaps in response to what Dr. Paul Bourne said just before the break? Go ahead, Angelica Dalrymple.
Undoubtedly, there would be some connection between marriage and divorce and homicide. The statistics, I don't know. I have not done a research. However, I do know that there are other factors that would have contributed. One of the major things is that relationships, as it relates to marriage, relationships can really affect that area, especially when there is this kind of bonding and then afterward there's a breach in the bonding. So there are a number of factors that we can look at that would have constituted the breach and how people respond, their perception of losing each other, and as Dr. Bourne mentioned about money, their perception of losing what they have invested in each other, their perception of losing a relationship that they had control or think they had control over. So there are a number of human factors that would have been applied in situations like these or playing havoc in situations like these that would have caused persons to kill each other.
Dr. Paul Bourne, we heard the associate applied psychologist, Angelica Dalrymple. We heard what she just said, and she doesn't have the statistics, but you have the statistics. And walk us back through some of those statistics, because Although what you said sounds very interesting, we just want to be absolutely clear on the stats. Sir, you mentioned the figure of 77%. Would you like to just unravel that for us some more, what exactly it represents, and the connection between marriage, divorce, and murders, homicides? Go ahead, Dr. Paul Bourne.
Okay, that 77% is actually indicating the relationship between the two phenomena. All right? But what I want to do is to show you exactly
which two phenomena?
between homicide and divorce.
Okay.
Right. But I want to give you some more information to let you understand how money is playing a factor inside of this scenario. When we try to model divorce, so we model divorce by looking at the exchange rate, mortality, and poverty, and realize that those three factors account for 62% of the variation in divorce. Money is extremely important in divorce. But we also try to understand what is going on now with this marriage phenomenon and realize that there's an inverse relationship
if
between
I
marriage.
could mention this for a moment, Dr. Bourne, so that the listeners can get a sort of feel for what you're saying. I saw where, for example, you indicated that if the man is more financially stable or financially sound or has more money, it's less likely that he will want the divorce.
Absolutely, because divorce means he's going to be losing. So that is what a number of gentlemen are trying to protect, because divorce means that he's going to be sharing what he has. So he'd rather not share. He'd rather stay married.
So if the woman wants to get a divorce from the man at a point in time when he's very financially stable and pretty well off, or even rich or wealthy, whichever word you prefer, and if the woman wants a divorce and is insisting on it, are you saying that it's more likely he will want to murder his wife?
It is highly likely, because what the individual is now seeing is,
Stick up in,
the female had not.
Stick up in, not cutting it, but I just want to unravel and unpack what you're saying. So if he's more likely to want to murder his wife, who may want this divorce because maybe he's committing marital infidelity, as the case may be, whatever it is, then are you saying that you have statistics to show that connection?
No, the statistics is actually indicating that the separation is going to be a 70. What we're saying, let people understand clearly.
Yeah.
The 77% means 77 of the 100 cases. All right? So you need to understand clearly what is really going on. It means all men.
The 77% of the 100 cases of homicide?
It is generally, that's what it means.
Okay.
All right? So it doesn't mean that all men will murder or try to find a way to murder the female. Some men will not. But we're saying that most of the cases like that are going to be resulted in some form of unaliving of somebody else. So this is why a number of the time when you actually
use the term unaliving.
Unaliving, because some person are using unalivers against death.
I see. You have to help us with these terms, Dr. Bourne. You're the researcher. So of the 100 cases of homicide, 77% of those cases you're indicating is a result of where there was a marital breakdown.
Yes, as a marital breakdown.
And this 100 cases is a 100 cases of divorces generally, or this is 100 cases of murders where the parties were married?
You're looking at homicide per divorce. So you're saying for every 100 of the homicides, you're experiencing 77 cases of the divorce.
Yes, but these 100 cases of homicides are across the length and breadth of the society in general.
Of Jamaica, yes. Jamaica
including situations where there was no marriage between the parties, including where somebody just went and shot up a wake.
But what we are saying to you is that a number of these shootings are not what you think they are. And when you actually do, well, I've done research on it, and they are online, where some of the cases that you think that they shoot at the wake because of unknown things, when the police do their investigation, social relationships most of the times are a part of what is actually going on inside that scenario.
No, I want to drill down a little bit, because you mentioned marriage and divorce. Are they all legal marriages in terms of you walked down the aisle, said I
Yes,
do and signed the
divorce is
banns
legal.
of marriage? No, no, no. I'm trying to. You said some of these cases, when you drill down, when the police drill down, there are relationships involved. So
Yeah.
are they all relationships that culminated in a legal marriage, or some of them common law relationships,
Some
some of
are
these
common law,
visiting relationships?
some are common law, some are visiting relationship. But what we are saying, the data is indicating to you that divorce is a critical part of the murder scenario in Jamaica.
All right.
Critical
Understood.
to what is going on.
And when will we be hearing more from you in terms of this research? Because is the research fully completed, or
It's
you
fully
are still?
completed. It is actually
Yes.
online. That
Yes.
person can actually go and actually read further in terms of methodology, etc.
Okay.
But this is now opening for us an avenue to say to the Jamaican people, let's look at how we deal with each other. Let's look at social relationships. Let's see how we can actually better deal with a divorce when it's occurring and try to protect both the male and the female from any likeliness of have seen death.
Forgive me, Dr. Bourne, but the reason why I keep drilling down and trying to drill down some more and more is because a lot of the times, perhaps wrongly or rightly, I don't know, when we hear about gun-related violence, for as an example, or murders in other ways, we tend to hear it more from the perspective of some sort of gang situation. But you're now bringing this new element, or not such a new element, but you're highlighting this element right now this morning, which is why I keep trying to find out some more and more and more from you. But before we wrap this morning, I want to bring back in Angelica Dalrymple. Angelica Dalrymple, you've heard the researcher.
Yes, I have. And something jumped out at me when he indicated about intentional.
Yeah.
Because in this kind of scenario, you would have like a premeditated intention. I use that word, I mean, loosely. And then you have the intentional aspect. The intentional one, even though it sounds that way, it is impulsive.
Yeah.
So when the fracas starts, when the moment comes, when persons are angry, they are annoyed and all of that, then when they strike to kill, but it's not premeditated. The premeditated one is the one that is planned. But I heard him said it's intentional. So I am kind of looking at some of the areas that we actually face or we know about in Jamaica where there are situations where people just strike at each other and it happens. So they would have a relationship going on or should be going on. There's a marriage going on. However, they have not been legally separated, and some of them are legally separated. So sometimes it happens before the legal separation, during the legal separation, after the legal separation. And what I boil it down to is person's perception of this marriage and divorce, of owning each other, controlling each other,
Yes.
not allowing each other to have free decision, make their own decision. If something is
Control.
irretrievable,
Control.
then can't I go? If a man wants to go, let him go. And if a woman wants to go, let her
Let her
go.
go.
I
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I don't see that coming out much in relationships as it relates to man and woman relationship. And I guess to the value of human lives, um is very low among us. We don't value each other. Maybe we don't even value ourselves. God designed us to love each other. We are not doing that. So that brings out all of that. So whether it is going to be a divorce, marriage, or whatever, I know that even the gang, as you mentioned, that's a big part. As I said, I'm not dealing with the statistic because I don't want to be
Understood. Understood.
incorrect. But
Yes.
what I'm trying to say here is all of them stems from relationship. Most of them, how am I relating to each other? If you notice, you find that even in the family, people are killing people for just because the other one maybe have a better job than me.
Yes.
I
Yes.
am so
Yes.
jealous of you. So
Exactly.
this jealousy and all these things are coming in. It is complex, and I believe and I agree that marriage and divorce contributes to homicide,
Miss
and I
Dalrymple.
also believe that
Miss Dalrymple and Mr.
Yes.
Dr. Bourne, only because of time. This conversation is so interesting, but we are already upon the end of this show today, this program. I want to thank you, Dr. Bourne and Miss Dalrymple, for your contributions today. Dr. Bourne, you're always researching. Thank you, sir. Miss Dalrymple, thank you for your thoughts and for your comments. And thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app. Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer Kathy Gale and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall. Hand you back to Love in the Morning with Jukal.
At the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we are committed to the values of care, compassion, excellence in service, integrity, teamwork, and innovation as we work to safeguard the health of our nation. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is
8:01 a.m. and you are now invited to listen to Forward in Faith, brought to you